Hello and welcome to Alderman Farms and welcome to Doughvember. Special thanks to Linda at Tuliloo Creates for hosting this collaboration. Today we're going to make my favorite roll recipe. It's actually my family's favorite too and a bestseller at our farmer's market. To my bowl I'm going to add 1 cup of warm water. I'm going to go ahead and add my 1/4 cup of butter where it can be softening even more in my warm water. It needs to be room temperature, and I cut it up in little pieces like that because it does help it to soften quicker. In this dish, I have a 1/4 cup of sugar, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of yeast. I'm gonna add all that to my bowl. I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up a little bit. Then we're gonna add 1 egg. I do like to mix it up a little bit first. And stir that together, get it distributed out in the water. It's perfectly fine that my butter is not melted. It will break up even more as we add the flour. All right, now my first cup of flour is going to be my spelt flour. Now if you can do this using whole wheat flour or other kinds of flour that you may like, even like rye flour. You're gonna have 3½ cups of flour. 1 cup can be your alternate flour besides your white flour. Or if you want to do it all white, you can do it all white. But I like to add a little spelt flour or whole wheat flour to this recipe. It just makes for a nice soft roll and gives kind of a different flavor. So I like to mix that cup of flour in first. Then next, I'm going to go ahead and add my white flour, 1 cup at a time. It's just a lot easier to incorporate it if you just do 1 cup at a time. And actually, for my 2nd cup of white flour, I'll add it in a little bit, just a little bit at a time, just for ease. Now, if you're using a mixer, or you can actually do this in the bread machine with the dough setting, just by adding it all in together. But with a mixer, you always have to be careful not to mix in too much flour because it'll make a really stiff dough. And with this dough, it's a soft dough. You could actually make cinnamon rolls with this dough. And so I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit in. And this recipe calls for 3 to 3½ cups of flour. You're just going to have to look at the dough and determine how much of that ½ cup you're going to need to add. And as always, it's a little different in different areas. Drier temperatures may need less flour. Humid temperatures may need more. And you know, we're typically humid down here in the south, so if you're in a place that has drier weather, you may need to add a little less flour. Now, it's gotten to this point, I'm gonna go ahead and put my hands in it and start mixing. I'll be mixing and kneading at the same time. And my dough is to the consistency, you see it's not sticking to my hands really bad. And it's a nice soft dough. Also, I want to remind you that there's going to be a prize drawing on December 1st where Linda at Tuliloo will put out a video December 1st, and she will be giving away a set of dough making tools. And if you're not in the United States, it will be an Amazon gift card of equal value. So please, please make sure you go and visit each channel, like, subscribe, and comment on the videos, and you will be entered into the drawing for the dough making tools. All of the channels are listed down below. Okay, my dough is coming together good. It's still a little too sticky. You can see how sticky that is. We're gonna have to roll these rolls out So we can't have it too sticky. But actually, if you've made bread before and you're familiar with the feeling of bread dough, you're going to want this to be much softer than if you were making a loaf of bread. Almost sticky, but not quite sticky. Okay, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit. This is my half a cup that I'm working on now. Now I'm going to get into really kneading it. See, I have flour down in my bowl. I'm just kind of rolling my dough around on it, trying to get the dough coated on every side with flour, and then I'm kind of kneading it. Just kind of kneading that flour into the dough. Okay, I used about 3 1/4 cups of flour total, and I believe my dough is good. You can see I'm able to touch it now and it's not quite as sticky. And so I'm gonna let this, I'm gonna call this done. And it's not gonna ruin your rolls if you put a little bit more flour in it or a little bit too less flour. But you'll learn as you make it the exact consistency that you want it. I'm going to spray my bowl with cooking spray. And I'm going to put my dough in the bowl, and then I'm going to turn it over so I have my oil on both sides. And I'm going to cover this with saran wrap and let it rise for 1 hour or until it's doubled in size. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer in cooler weather, so plan your time accordingly. Once your dough is risen, there's about 4 different things or ways you can go with your dough. The first thing is that you can make your dough into your rolls, or if you want to make cinnamon rolls or something like that, because this dough is really good for cinnamon rolls. Number 2, you can make it into your rolls and then put them in the freezer and let them get good and hard, and then put them in a Ziploc bag to take out and make rolls later. Of course, you'll have to let them rise a long time after being in the freezer, so you might just have to play with your times there. It could take up to, 5 to 12 hours, depending on how warm your house is. Third, you can make your rolls up and place them in the refrigerator, like if you wanted to bake them the next day, and they would take about 4 hours to be risen double in size. Fourth, you can just put your dough in the refrigerator in a covered dish, and as you want to make rolls, you could just pinch off a little dough and make your rolls, or you can roll them all up at one time. But it's kind of versatile, you don't have to use all of your dough at once, and that's very beneficial for me and Tommy because it's just the 2 of us and we don't need the whole batch of rolls.
1 hour later.
All right, I guess you're wondering what I'm going to do today. Well, I'm going to do a little bit of both. I'm going to make some rolls for demonstration and for us to eat, and then I'm going to be putting the rest of my dough in a container, and I'll make the rest of these up Thanksgiving morning for my family. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to spray my hands with a little spray. And I'm also going to spray my container where it won't stick real bad in there, because remember, this is a very soft dough, very soft. And so this recipe, I like to make 18 to 20 rolls. It'll make a nice size roll about like that. You can make your hot dogs with it. You can make hamburger buns. I make little buns for us to have for sandwiches, and that's what I'm going to do today. This will be like a little sandwich bread for us. So Remember, it's going to about double in size. So I'm going to make, kind of look like a little hot dog bun, a little pistolette. And I'm just going to, I've got my parchment paper on here. Like that. Oh, one thing I've done with this recipe not too long ago is I just made it big and round. I split it in half. I should have split it maybe in 4. And I patted it kind of flat and it rose up. And we made like a ham sandwich on it, and I cut it in little triangles. I had some ladies coming over, and it really turned out nice. It was a nice presentation. It'd be great to make muffulettas with too. I think I'm gonna do mine kind of long. And I guess I ought to be making rolls, but you know what? I don't need any rolls right now. We're gonna have sandwiches for lunch, so this will be sandwiches. But let me show you if you're gonna make rolls. What I do is I split my dough in half, and I just keep splitting in half until I get the amount of rolls that I want. But you just break off a piece of dough and roll it around in your hand like that. And see, that'll make a nice size roll. It'll double in size, or if you want to make bigger rolls, you can. All right, now for the rest of this dough, I'm going to go ahead and place it in my greased ice cream bowl. I do save the ice cream bowls. I love ice cream, and so I'm going to put it in there, and I want it to be, it doesn't have to be this deep, but it needs to be bigger than what your dough is, because your dough may still rise a little bit in the refrigerator. Then I'm going to refrigerate this, and this would stay good in the refrigerator at least up to a week. Now I'm going to let these rise till they're doubled in size, and then we'll bake them, and we'll have us fresh bread for lunch. I know this recipe is not sourdough, but the last one I made for Doughvember was sourdough. I made cinnamon rolls. And so we made a coupon code, it's Doughvember, for 50% off of my sourdough ebook. It's easy sourdough start to finish. There's a link down in the description.
1 hour later.
All right, now that my buns have risen, I've preheated my oven to 450 degrees. I'm going to bake them for about 10 minutes and check them. We want them to be nicely brown. Don't forget to go and watch all the Doughvember videos, and like, subscribe, and comment on all the videos to improve your chances of winning. They turned out beautiful. I always like to top my bread with a little bit of butter. And you can use melted butter, but since I just have these two, I'm just going to rub it on there like that. And then, while they're hot, I like to take them and put them on a cooling rack and let them cool. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.